Thank you all for coming. Let's imagine that you're a woman that graduated college after 4 long years with a bachelor's degree and a 4.0 GPA. After college, you get your dream job. You work for this company for 3 years and develop your skills quickly. You're a respected professional and well-liked by all of your colleagues. Then one day, the company hires a new member to your team. He is fresh out of college, he graduated with a lower GPA, and he has no hands-on experience in his new profession. Then you find out his salary is higher than yours. This kind of thing happens all the time. Passing the Paycheck Fairness Act of 2019 can help to eliminate some of the gender-based discrimination that still exists in the United States today. Author and trusted member of the American Association of University Women, Mary Hickey, tells us in her article that the Paycheck Fairness Act is being reintroduced after failing to be passed by the Senate every year since 2008. The new law would take the place of the Equal Pay Act, which was passed in 1963. She also tells us that the Equal Pay Act states that men and women should be paid the same amount for equal work, but it does not address some key issues that make it possible for employers to continue to discriminate against women monetarily. In this speech, I hope to encourage all of you to support the passage of the Paycheck Fairness Act. Despite the Equal Pay Act of 1963 and the numerous state laws that have been put into place to try to narrow the pay gap between men and women, gender-based discrimination is still an unsettling problem. Kurt Stanberry, author of Closing the Gender Pay Gap, New Approaches to an Old Problem, explains that in the year 1960, females earned only 50% of what men earned. In 2017, that number had dropped to 20%. This is proof that the laws do help, but it also proves that the problem still exists. As you can see from this graph created by the U.S. Census Bureau, the gap has narrowed, but the median income for women is still a problem. Ella Nelson, author for the Congress and Republican publication called Vox, explains the advantages of the Paycheck Fairness Act of 2019. For instance, instead of saying equal pay for equal work, the Paycheck Fairness Act would say equal pay for jobs of equal value. Aside from changing the wording, the Paycheck Fairness Act would have 4 main areas of focus. First, it would prohibit employers from using salary history to determine pay of new employees. This is to protect workers from pay disparities which can follow people from job to job. Second, it would protect against retaliation for discussing pay with colleagues. This would make it so that any employee can request the pay information of others in their department, or they can discuss it among themselves. Third, it allows class action suits to be filed by employees. Last, the bill would require companies to share salary data with the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. This is the most important part of the new act, in my opinion, because employers would be less likely to discriminate with the EEOC watching. Claire Silliman, an author for Fortune magazine, wrote that the act has repeatedly not passed in the Senate because Republicans have been the majority. Also, the bill continuously gets delayed because the court system is having a hard time interpreting the original bill that was passed in 1963. Luckily, 2019 might be the year that the Paycheck Fairness Act does pass in the Senate. The representatives are more diverse now than ever. More women in office to vote for the act can definitely ensure that it passes. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker for the House of Representatives, is the biggest supporter of the act. Her involvement has encouraged 1 Republican co-sponsor and 7 members of the Republican Party to vote in favor of the act. Her dedication to pay equality has been going strong since 1997, and she is finally confident that the new act will replace the Equal Pay Act of 1963. In her article, Zillman quoted Nancy Pelosi for saying, "Equal pay is at the center of the public discourse, and paycheck fairness is ready for passage today." Also, Ella Nelson noted that the hashtag #MeToo movement has helped to bring attention to the treatment of women and made the nation more aware of the problems that women face on a day-to-day basis. This year as well, many high-profile actresses have gone public for getting paid less than their male co-stars. And Just this week, there is a huge uproar in the news and on social media about the U.S. women's soccer team not getting paid as much as the men's soccer team. The women of the team are filing public complaint and trying to bring attention to equal pay. This kind of attention should have a positive impact for the act as it's being reintroduced. Opposition to the Paycheck Fairness Act is one of the largest reasons that it hasn't been enacted. Businesses that want to keep their pay data private are opposed to the Paycheck Fairness Act for obvious reasons. Members of the Republican Party are also opposed to the act. Lindsay McPherson, senior House reporter for Roll Call, quoted Virginia Fox, Republican Virginia Fox, for saying, "This is a bill for trial lawyers, plain and simple. Democrats want women to sue their bosses. Republicans want women to be the bosses." The argument by Republicans is that the law would just create frivolous lawsuits, and it puts employers in a position where they're going to be considered guilty until they can prove their innocence. Virginia Fox is correct about one thing. The bill has the potential to create an abundance of lawsuits because currently employees are restricted from talking about their pay with one another, and pay data is being kept hidden. If the bill passes and businesses are forced to reveal their pay data, it's likely that thousands of women are going to take a stand against their employers. Claire Zillman told us in the article that I mentioned previously that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has previously referred to the act as just another Democratic idea that threatens to hurt the very people that it claims to help. I strongly disagree with Mitch McConnell. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 is hurting the people that it claims to help because it is a law full of loopholes which are used by employers to continue to justify pay discrimination, and it's worded in a way that the true interpretation of the law is still under debate. Despite the opposition, it's clear to see that the Paycheck Fairness Act is needed. The women of the United States should not have to rely on a law that was passed 56 years ago, especially if that law is not effective because it does not include protection from retaliation and full disclosure of pay data. It is also not effective if the current law is full of loopholes that make it easier for employers to continue unfair pay practices. To the younger female college students in the audience, I hope this bill passes before you're ready to enter the workforce. The inequality has got to stop. The women of America deserve to know whether or not they're being treated unfairly, and they need to have the power and protection to be able to do something about it if they're being discriminated against. The Paycheck Fairness Act would give women all of those things: knowledge, power, and protection. I hope you will all post about this on social media. The more we keep the treatment of women in the public eye, the better off we'll be. Also, contact your congressman or rally peacefully, whatever you can do to help.